In this video, we're going to start styling our footer, and we are also going to be styling the contents inside of our footer. So if you can remember, in the last video, we gave this footer a specific class here called FT. So we are going to be using this class to style this footer. So let's just get started quickly. Let's go to our styles.css and start styling this footer. So inside of your custom styles, you just call the class, say footer, call the element, and then you call the class, which is .ft. So let's style this class now. And how do we want to style this footer? We are going to give this footer a background color. We're going to give this footer a background color of teal. Now you can use any background color, but I'm using teal here. So let me refresh this and see how this is looking. Refresh. Now as you can see down here, we have our background color for our footer. So let's dive down here. So the next thing we need to work with, the heading 1. The heading 1 inside of the footer. So after your footer class, you get your H1. Now let's style the heading 1. So if you go over to your index.html here, you can see we have the class. And inside this footer class, remember we have a heading 1 here. So we are actually following the working tree. So the H1 element is the child element of this footer. So now we want to work with this child element, which is the H1. So how do we want to style this H1? For this H1, we're going to give it a color of white. And we are going to increase the font size. So we are going to increase the font size to a font size of 35 pixels. 35 pixels is cool. So we're going to give it a font size of 35 pixels. Let's refresh this and see how this is looking. Refresh. Now you can see we have a white text for our heading 1 and a font size of 35 pixels. Let's keep on styling this. Now let's dive down to our unordered list. We say footer.ft. Now we get our unordered list. Remember, the unordered list is also a child element of this footer. And like I said, we are following the working tree. So now we are working with the unordered list inside of the footer. Now, how do we want to style this unordered list? Let me just create some space here. Now, as for our unordered list, we are going to remove those bullet points. So we are going to be using a list style of none. I'm going to explain this. We have done this before. I'm going to use a list style of none, and I'm also going to give the list item a text align of left, because I want them in the same position with our heading 1 there. So before I refresh this, you can see these 3 bullet points. You can see these 3 dots on the list item. So these are bullet points. So by specifying a list style of none, it will automatically remove these bullet points here. And we also gave it a padding. We also gave it a text align of left because we want it aligned here properly with the heading 1. So let's refresh. Now as you can see, our bullet points are gone, but our list items, they are not aligned on the left here. They are not aligned properly on the left. Now the reason this is because, remember, we aligned this and we gave a text align of left, but you can see it's not working. Now the reason is because of those bullet points. The bullet points, they are still taking the space. So even if we remove the bullet points with a list style of none, they are still there. So by default, those bullet points, they are still there. So we need to remove the bullet points. We need to force it, okay, and remove it, so we can be able to position this list item to the left. Even if you can't see it now, they are still there. So let's remove it. So to remove that bullet point, to force it and remove it, we are going to add a padding left. We are going to add a padding left of 0. So that's what we are going to be using to remove that padding left of 0. So let's go back to our web page. So by adding a padding left of 0, we are simply telling the browser, as you can see, there is a space here. So we are simply telling the browser, I don't want any space here. By adding a padding left of 0, we are telling the browser, remove the space. Okay, as you can see, this is a padding. So we are adding a padding left of 0. So now if we refresh this, now you can see the padding is gone because we added a padding left of 0. So now the list item, they are now positioned properly and in the same position with our heading. So let's keep on styling this. Let's dive down to our list item. As you can see, these are on ordered list. So let's dive down to our list item. So say footer.ft on ordered list, and now let's get our list item, which is the li. So how do we want to style our list item? We are going to give this list item color of white as well. List item of color of white, and we are also going to give it a font size. Let's increase that font size, the font size of the list item as well. We are going to give it a font size of 20 pixels. Let's see how this is looking. Refresh. Now you can see down here we have a font size of 20 pixels for our list item, and the text, and you can see everything here is fine, everything here is cool. And what we need to do here, as you can see, this list item, they are too close to each other, so we need to give a line height here. You can see they are too close to each other, so we need to specify a line height here. And you remember, by default for our body, we gave our body a line height of 1. So for this list item, I'm just going to overwrite it inside of this footer. So we are going to give it a line height of 1.5. So we are going to override that. So let's refresh and see how this is looking. Refresh. Now you can see we have a line height of 1.5 for our list items inside of our footer. So this is cool so far. Everything is looking nice. Yes. So let's just add more content inside of this footer. So that's what we are going to be doing now. So go back to your index.html and let's add more content inside of this footer. So what you need to do is copy the column, because we are going to be having 4 columns inside of this footer. So copy this column, you copy the column 3, make sure you copy it, and then make sure you paste this outside of the column. Make sure you paste it inside of the row. So you hit enter, make sure you paste it outside of the column. You paste, and then you hit enter again, you paste, you hit enter again, and then you paste. So we have pasted 4 columns, 4 column 3 items inside of this footer. Make sure they are inside of your row element, inside of the row div. So if we go back to our web page and refresh, now you can see we have 4 columns. So let's just rename this. You can see all of them, they are still the same. They are still using the visits, the about, the blog. Let's just rename this properly. So let's go up here. And for the second one here, we are going to remove the visit, and we are going to call this recipes. And let's dive down to the list items. So for the list items, for this one, we are going to call it, for our recipes, we say soups. And then we'll go down here. After the soups, we are going to call it pizza. And then we'll go down and we'll call this one seafoods. Now let's go down here. So this one, we are going to call this, for the third one here, we are going to call this learn more. And then for the list item, we are going to say developers. Come down here, say designers. And then for this one, you say hackers. Now let's go over to the last column here. Now let's change the heading. So we are going to give this one support. Now let's go down to the list item here. We're going to call this one help. The second one, we are going to say questions. I'm sorry. Made a mistake there. QA, yeah, that's cool. Question and answer. And for the last one here, we are going to give it contact. Now let's go over to our web page and see how this is looking. Wow, we have done a lot of things here. So if you refresh this, you can see everything has changed. So every single one of them, they are different. You can see we have visit, recipe, learn more, and support. So this is the 4-column section here. So this first section is taking a width of 25%. The second one is taking a width of 25%. The third one is also 25%. And the last one here is also taking a width of 25%. So all together we'll combine to make it a width of 100%. So in the next video, we are actually going to be making this section mobile responsive. Remember, that's what we always do. So we are going to be making this section mobile responsive. So I'll see you guys in the next video.